Hey, what's up, everyone? If you follow me on social media, you've seen several posts that I've made related to this boxing match that happened over in Paris in the Paris Olympic Games between an Algerian boxer, Imane Khelif. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I might be butchering that. If so, I don't mean that disrespectfully. And Italian boxer Angela Carini. I believe this was a welterweight match in the round of 16. Okay, 46 seconds into the bout, Carini complained of, I believe, a broken nose or at least a severely damaged nose, and it was hit with a couple of stiff, hard shots from Khalif, and basically retired. Right? She took a knee and said, "I'm done." Went to her corner, and that was it. Um, and she complained in an interview, I think, right after the fight, that the punch was extremely powerful and that right away didn't feel right. Listen, there's been a lot of talk about this, and there's going to be more and more talk about this. And I've been posting about it for the last few days. I should mention I haven't watched a single second of the Olympics. I'm just not that interested in it. But this particular issue does resonate with me because, I mean, first of all, I'm a parent, two daughters. One day they're going to want to play sports, and I'm going to want them to be able to enjoy fair sport. In their experience, sports has been a big thing for me. It's been a huge part of my life, and it probably will continue to be so for the rest of my life. And I'm a voter in the Women's Boxing Hall of Fame. I'm a fan of women's boxing. I'm part of the Ring Ratings Committee, and that includes women's boxing. This is an important issue to me. Okay. So in the Olympic Games right now, there are two boxers competing. One, I believe, is from Thailand, and one is from Algeria, that were previously disqualified from the most recent World Championships. And it was right before their medal matches. They were actually in the medal round, and they were going to compete for medals. And apparently, according to the president of the governing body that ran the World Championships at that time, they said, they've been quoted, and there's numerous sources. You guys can just Google this. They said that there is a gender exam, and that both of those boxers failed the gender exam, and that they tested positive, or I don't think that's the right way to say positive. Their test revealed that they had XY chromosomes. Okay. Now, has any of this been published? Have the official test results, been published publicly for everyone to see? No, you're going by this person's word, but this person who ran the governing body believed that this was unfair and dropped these two people, disqualified them from the medal matches in the World Championships. The International Olympic Committee, knowing the controversy coming into this Olympics, so specifically with these two boxers, instead of doing publicly releasing information on a gender test or doing testosterone test or whatever it is, and releasing that information to the media to quell any possible controversy, they didn't do that. They have been anti-transparent, and they haven't given any details. All they have said is, well, they passed our qualifications. Well, what does that mean? What are your qualifications? Give us specifics. Poster test results. Let's see. They haven't done that. So listen, I'm going off of a person's word, but this is a person who was the president of a global governing body that governed the World Championships. Okay, that's a high-ranking official that disqualified these two people from the World Championships. So I'm going to take their word at this point. And people will be like, well, that governing body's corrupt. Well, what do you think the IOC is? It's the most corrupt sporting organization on earth, and there's not even a close second. The IOC is an evil, blatantly corrupt organization. Okay, I could rant for hours about it. So whose word are you going to take here? All I know is these two boxers were banned from the World Championships, and the International Olympic Committee, the Paris Games authorities, did not do more stringent testing or anything to try to quell the controversy coming into these games. That is a massive failure on their part. And I'm not even going to get into the Olympic Games opening ceremonies and all the controversy there. There just seems to be an agenda, is the only way I'll put it. There is imagery and pageantry in that opening ceremony that kind of parallels these two boxers going into the games, and other boxers that are or other athletes in the games that identify in many different ways. So I'm just saying, perhaps political correctness and things like that superseded fair sport and transparency with the media and sports fans that are wanting to watch the games and support their athletes. Okay, so putting all that aside, guys, here's what I'm going to say about this. Okay, I am totally fine with Imane Khelif identifying as a woman. Apparently, and I'll use the word she. Apparently, she has always lived her life as a woman. Her passport says she's a woman. She's from Algeria, a country where apparently, I don't know this for sure, but I've been told by numerous people that being transgender in that country is illegal. They don't even recognize those folks, right? So, which I disagree with. I think there are people on that spectrum out there, but this person identifies as a female. Now, do they have female sex organs? I don't know. I've never seen this person naked. Neither have any of you. And the IOC hasn't released any information on any of this stuff. So we don't know. But we going off of what this one authority said before the World Championships, and then just kind of the eye test, and then the results of the Carini fight, it's pretty evident that an XY chromosome thing might be happening here, right? I think that until that is disproven, it seems, it's at least, at bare minimum, something that should be looked into. Okay. I've had to educate myself throughout this process in the last few days. I should mention before I go any further, there are medical conditions, syndromes. There's a few that. So there are situations where there's some people, we're talking about 1 in 100,000 births, are born with female sex organs and male chromosomes. So you guys all know women have the XX chromosome, men have XY chromosome, and it's that Y chromosome that carries with it very high levels of testosterone and there are other factors. But I want to share my screen real quick and show you guys. So Surur Syndrome, I think I'm saying that right. Surur Syndrome. This is one of the conditions I'm talking about, and I'm not going to read all of this. You guys can look it up, but here's what's interesting. So people born with Surur syndrome, it's just like I said, they have female sex organs, at least most of the female sex organs, maybe not all. Most of the organs are non-functioning, they don't work, and they have male chromosomes. So it causes issues with their the reproductive organs. They don't produce eggs, so they can't get pregnant on their own. They have to take hormone therapy and use donor eggs to try to be pregnant. I mean, they're messed up. It's sad, really. My heart goes out to these folks. Okay. But let me read this real quick. People with Surur syndrome have female external genitalia and some female reproductive structures. These individuals usually have a uterus and fallopian tubes, but their gonads are not functional. Instead, the gonads are small and underdeveloped and contain little gonadal tissue. These structures are called streak gonads. The streak gonadal tissue is at risk of developing cancer and is often hard to detect, so it is usually removed surgically. Surur syndrome was also called 46XX, complete gonadal digenesis, the medical term digenesis meaning abnormal development. Because they appear female on the outside, babies with Surur syndrome are usually raised as girls and develop a female gender identity, which is a person's sense of gender, girl, boy, or a combination or neither. Surur syndrome may be identified before birth, at birth, or later when the child does not go through puberty as normal. Because they do not have functional ovaries that produce hormones, affected individuals often begin hormone replacement therapy during early adolescence to start puberty. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So therein is the crux of the matter. There are a lot of people out there. And look, ideologically right now, I'm not going to get into, I don't want to get into politics, okay? Because this is something that happens on the left and the right. There is a hyperfixation, if not an outright obsession, a lot of times on the exception rather than the rule. 99.999% of women are born with XX chromosomes. 99.999% of men are born with XY chromosomes. The amount of people that are born with both are kind of in the middle where they shouldn't be. You are talking about thousandths of a percent of the population. It is an extremely small number of people. Okay, it's extraordinarily rare. It happens, and in a world of billions of people, there are many cases of it just because of raw numbers. But per capita, it's a very, very small number. Okay. The hyperfixation on the exception in this case is, and I'm picking on Imane Khelif here. There is the Thai boxer that it's the same situation. I just forget their name, and I don't think they've fought yet. I'm seeing people going to extraordinary lengths and performing all sorts of mental gymnastics to try to defend something that is simply, it's so easy, guys. If you want fair sport, people with XY chromosomes should compete against other people with XY chromosomes, whether they identify as male, female, whatever. Genetically, biologically, XY versus XY, XX versus XX. It's very, very simple. That should be the uniform, simple standard. I'm not saying Imane Khelif should not compete or not be allowed to compete, but they should have to compete against fellow boxers. I won't even use the word male boxers. I'll say fellow boxers who have XY chromosomes. Athletes with XY chromosomes. That's who Khelif should fight. Okay. And I'm not just saying this for boxing, it should be all sport. Because here's the here's the reality, guys. This is going to make some of you cringe, because if you're in Gen Z, you've been taught otherwise. Men and women are actually different. And men are substantially stronger, particularly upper body strength. And that testosterone does that. But there is also larger bone mass, greater lung capacity. So in a sport like boxing or any other martial art, that means you're not only able to dole out more punishment, more, harder blows, more forceful blows, you're able to absorb more punishment, more forceful blows. There's irrefutable science on this. Okay. That is why there are no women in the National Football League here in America, because they couldn't do it. They would die. They can't do it. It's not sexist to say that. It's just biology. So as it relates to this matter, we either have a uniform standard or we don't. If we blur the lines, then there are going to be people that slip through the cracks, and you could potentially have a situation where you have an unfair advantage. I don't know the medical details of Imane Khelif, by the way. Neither do any of the people out there trying to defend this whole situation and going to extraordinary lengths to do so. But assuming there's an XY chromosome, assuming this person has Surur Syndrome or something like that, okay, there is absolutely no doubt that at some point in their life, they had abnormally high testosterone levels. And I'm seeing some people post pictures of her when she was young, like 5 years old, 6 years old. That's prepubescent. That's before the testosterone takes effect. Show me pictures of her after puberty. Those are the pictures that I've showed everybody where she clearly looks a little different. There's something going on there, okay? Going through puberty with higher levels of testosterone makes you stronger. Again, I talked about bone mass, lung capacity, all the things that there are other factors that come with higher testosterone levels, okay? And all of that aided this person in their training and their physical development and gives them a competitive advantage over the other 99.999% of women. I talked earlier about the hyperfixation on the rule rather than on the exception rather than the rule. In this case, Imane Khelif is the exception. She represents 0.00001% of women. How about we focus on the other 99.99999% of women? That's a much larger number. That's where the focus should be. Do I feel bad for this person? Does my heart go out to them? Do I have empathy for them? Of course. Just from human to human, it's a difficult situation. Okay. But once again, I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to compete. They should just have to compete against uh, fellow boxers with XY chromosomes. Okay. That's where I stand on this. And I'm not trying to be, there's nothing bigoted about it. There's nothing ignorant about it. In fact, it's ignorant to defend this. Here's the issue, guys. And this is what this is the last thing I'm going to say to the defenders out there. Because you're saying, we don't know the medical history, we don't know if there's higher T levels and all this kind of stuff. Okay. I got you. But well, first of all, before I even go into that point, let me say this. If there's any kind of hormone therapy to lower testosterone levels for these athletes before a competition, I don't give a damn if their testosterone levels measure within an acceptable threshold to compete against women right before a competition. You're taking hormone therapy to achieve that. If I want to do a boxing match, if I get back in the ring and fight again, and I test positive for, or if I'm doing any kind of hormonal therapy or any kind of performance enhancers or anything like that, hormone blockers, any of that stuff, I'm disqualified. I probably would lose my professional boxing license. It'd probably be revoked and I'd be suspended and I'd not be allowed to compete. So why is it for 99.99999% of boxers or any other athletes, but specifically in this case, boxers, they can't do hormone therapy. They can't do any of these performance enhancers. They can't do any hormone blockers or any of this other type of medication. It's all on the prohibited list for them. But this tiny little group of people gets to do that. Once again, that's not a uniform standard. And you're bowing to this exception, this extraordinarily rare exception, rather than protecting the rule, which is the majority of the athletes. So I just think that's where we should look. That's how we should look at this. I'm trying to think. Just one other point I wanted to make. I'm just going off the cuff here, guys. I don't have a script. I wanted to wrap this up real quick though, but what the hell? There was another point I wanted to make, and it's just I'm losing it right now. Just all the people that are defending this, I think you're trying to make this about being bigoted, being anti-trans or anti-LGBTQ, blah, blah, blah. It's not any of that, okay? It's just wanting fair sport. And when you saw these two people in the ring, and look, perhaps Khelif is just a much better boxer than Carini. That's totally fair. But the physical difference between them was evident right away. I know you guys have probably seen the video by now, right? It's just it's so evident. It's instant. You can see it. For those of you talking about testosterone levels and all this kind of stuff, again, I just want to beat this point home. It doesn't matter if their testosterone levels are within the acceptable threshold right now. What matters is, did they go through puberty with higher testosterone? Well, if they did, which obviously you would if you have the Y chromosome, that gives this person a significant advantage. It doesn't matter what kind of hormone therapy they do now, they still have an advantage. And that's the whole point. If we want to protect women, if we want to promote women's sports, and what's funny is a lot of the people that virtue signal about women's boxing in the media are the same ones defending this crap. It's so hypocritical. I can't understand it. If we want to protect women, then we need to make a uniform standard. There are some people, a very small percentage, but there are some people that are not going to fit that standard. And that sucks. But life sucks. It's hard. You can't include everybody all the time. And that's something that people with certain political worldviews want to do in every single situation. But there are times where it's just not applicable. And I'm going to stay on this. I just feel that XY should fight XY, XX should fight XX. This should be really, really simple. That's the rule. It could literally be one sentence. in the IOC guidebook or whatever, the rule book, just to add one sentence on this. You don't need an elaborate 20-page explanation. One sentence. That's it. Whatever chromosomes you have, that's where you're competing. It's so simple, guys. And here's the thing. If Khelif competed against men, then this person wouldn't have to take hormone blockers or any kind of other hormone therapy to lower their T levels. They could just have the heightened T levels because it would match the men that she's competing against. However, I don't even know what terms I'm supposed to use anymore. Oh God, 2024, I tell you. I was talking to my wife about this today. I have two toddlers. One is 21 months old. The other is 9 months old. I guess she's still technically a baby. I think they're not toddlers till they're 12 months old. Anyway, they both inherently understand the difference between men and women. You can see it in the way they treat me versus the way they treat their mother. When we meet people, meet friends, they react much differently to women than they do to men every single time. They inherently understand that there are two genders. And if my toddler, if my baby can inherently just naturally understand that, from the smell we give off, the pheromones, the chemicals, all that stuff, if they can understand the difference, why can't adults understand this? Why are people performing such mental gymnastics and reaching so far to make an exception in this case when it's just so obvious? XY chromosome gives you a substantial athletic advantage against XX chromosome. That's it. Nothing bigoted about it. That's it. So fix it. That's it. I don't care how you identify, what your passport says, what is in your underwear. I don't care. What are you biologically? What's going on there? What chemicals are running through your body? That matters, especially when it comes to combat sports like boxing. All right, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Appreciate you listening to my rant on this. Let me know, what am I missing? Am I completely off base here? I'm trying to be as inclusive and sensitive and empathetic as I can possibly be. But at the same time, this is just something that, again, is such an obvious, easy thing to understand. It just baffles me that half of the population is not getting it. I don't understand the disconnect here. It's like there's just this massive cognitive dissonance. Like everyone's just lost their freaking minds. This is an easy one. This should be kind of uniform, apolitical. Okay. All right, guys. See you at the fights.